SBA Today for the week of July 2nd, where our motto is likely helpful, definitely entertaining. I am running solo today as my co-host Tanya is taking a trip of a lifetime internationally, and we will definitely welcome her back next week. And I am sure she'll have a great story to tell us all. So in this episode, our top stories are big news in the SBA world. IBusiness funding is purchasing Funding Circle. Woo, that's going to be fun. Best and worst performing industries for SBA lending. I know we all want to know that, and there's some great stats on that. For you back office people like myself, lender receivables is going away, and I look forward to talking to you about that. And of course, we had a new procedural notice that also came out. So really quickly, as we always do with this show, is we talk about different stories, and I want to share with you a 4363 disaster that was absolutely turned around. So as you all know, getting that 4363 is definitely going to slow your loan down when you get that. But it's not the death of a deal. I had a manufacturer who got a 4363, doing a cap line for them, and I got the code. And of course, I used every four-letter word I could think of at the moment. And also, just to put a cherry on top, I also needed an EIDL subordination, which they also said no to that because the 4363. So that all goes into everything. So here's what happened, and it's very interesting. Our customer definitely did nothing wrong. But he had to fight for his right for this. So the IRS said that he did not file his 2020 taxes until 2022. Okay, well, gee, I don't know what happened in 2020. I don't remember. Oh yeah, that's right, COVID. Okay, so what he did is, in order to get his EIDL loan, he had to file. So he took his 2020 tax returns, drove it to the IRS office, gave it to the IRS agent. They stamped it and put it in the file for processing. Well, the IRS was in total disarray during COVID. And the factor that he even got a person that he could give his tax return, I personally thought was amazing. But what happened is they didn't process his tax return until 2022. Is that the customer's fault? God, no. He has a stamped return and it was filed properly, okay? But that triggered the 4363. So we had to submit proof, and of course, it fell on deaf ears. And so we've been going over this for 2 months. The customer really needs this for working capital. He's a manufacturer. He's got a big contract. He's got to get this done, okay? Borrower got so fed up that he submitted a congressional inquiry, which I give him total props for doing that. And frankly, it was the smartest thing he did, because he got a call the next day with a dedicated agent that is going to work on that 4363 and his EIDL subordination. 2 weeks later, we got the 4363 removed, and I got the subordination. The borrower spent over 80 hours working with this to prove that he did the right thing. Now, the whole point of this story is, there's a couple points to this. One is the 4363 is not the death, but it sure got a lot of work. And the biggest part is you got to have a borrower that's willing to fight for their right to have an SBA loan. I feel like I need to bust out in song, but they really needed to have that. So I welcome, put those comments down below if you got a 4363 removed and the story. So, again, we love hearing those stories, but most importantly, I think the takeaway, as Ray said here, do a congressional inquiry. It's amazing how fast things get done. So keep that in mind. So let's jump into the news. So IBusiness Funding, which is a division of Ready Capital, the big Ready Capital, they entered into agreement to acquire Funding Circle. Now, why should you care? Why is that interesting? Well, it's because, remember, we talked about in previous episodes how Funding Circle got one of the new SBLC licenses and then didn't want, and then pretty much they're not going to use it, is the bottom line. Well, they were acquired or going to be acquired by Ready Capital and IBusiness Funding. So their whole mission is to be the largest lender for loans under $500,000. Now, from an SBA standpoint, I applaud that. We need more of those funds to go out. However, the credit risk manager in me is really concerned with what the losses will be, because we all know that the losses for under 500,000 is substantially more than those greater than 500,000. So we look forward to seeing what happens with this big news. Yeah, we'll just sit back with our popcorn and see what we see there. So I want to share with you guys a few charts here for those who are listening. And don't worry, I'll say thank you very much to Brett Keynes over on this. He does a great job putting together some of this information for us. But the 15 industries with the highest annual default rate. Okay, I'm not going to go over all 15, but I will give you the worst. I'll give you the top 5. Okay. Other electronic parts and equipment merchant wholesalers. You have to read that a couple times because it's like, what do you do? Electronic parts merchant wholesalers. So the wholesaling part, that's interesting. Electronics and appliance retailers. Interesting. Electronic and precision equipment repair. There's this word electronic that keeps showing up on the top. That's really fascinating to me. All other health and personal care retailers. I mean, we all know that Walgreens, Rite Aid, they're kind of struggling right now. And the number one highest annual default rate, ready, is limousine services. I thought that was very fascinating. And by a long shot, almost 5%. So keep that in mind when you are getting those requests and you get a limousine or something regarding electronics. You definitely want to take a look at it. Now let's look at on the flip side where you have the lowest default rates. We have the top 5, solid waste collection. I'm not surprised by that at all. We all have garbage. It all needs to go somewhere. That's a good one. Child care services. There's a huge thing with child care that, obviously most of us on this podcast have done child cares before. So that's a great one. Office of Mental Health Practitioners. Not surprised. We have a little problem with that in the world. Assisted living facilities for the elderly. We do a lot of those, right? And the very top one is lessors of non-residential buildings, except mini warehouses. So I thought that was really interesting that I would assume that the, mini warehouses would be okay, but it's except mini warehouses. So I think there's a little bit more facts that we need to look into that one, but those are your top industries with the lowest annual default rate. So as we're moving along here, number 3, for those who are my back office friends, if you go under servicing in the tab and you click on search, but you'll always see lenders receivables. And if you're an old school lender like me, you've always gone there to see if you've messed up something on your 1502 reports or something. The bottom line is that lender receivables tab, any information that's underneath that is wrong, 100% wrong. And from my understanding is from the Colson days as our FTA. So I was trying to kind of clean up some things in our organization, and I found out for some top brass that all that information is wrong and it needs to go away. So good news, if you're playing with that, you do not have to worry about that anymore. And of course, we got a procedural notice this week, which is just so exciting. There wasn't that much content in it, and I don't think affects too many of us lenders, but we are SBA Today. We are sharing the news. This allows SBA lenders to process loans to co-ops, to cooperatives. SBA lenders can use their delegated authority to make loans to co-ops. So that has been updated on there. I personally have never done a co-op. I think last year the SBA did 5 or 6 ESOP loans. It's not a huge deal, but it is something that we can do for cooperatives using your delegated authority. And last but not least, speaking of ESOPs, is they remove the requirement for an independent business valuation. Because when you do an ESOP, you got to figure out the value of the business anyways, which is, a business valuation. So in lieu of an independent business valuation, the lender can use the one that is made to ERISA specifications. My gosh, I cannot talk this morning. I need another cup of coffee. So, that makes sense to me. Why would you need a second one for an ESOP for evaluation? So not too much content there from there, but it is a procedural notice, and we all need to make sure that we are following the SOP to the law or the best part possible. So again, it was just me today. I appreciate you all listening. Tanya will be back next week and bring her great personality. If you want news as soon as it breaks, you can watch us live on YouTube or LinkedIn, or get caught up on all your streaming platforms where you get your podcasts. You got something to talk about? Comment and shoot us an email, sbatoday@artofsba.com. We love to hear from you. And most importantly, don't forget, if you are a passionate SBA professional, don't forget to check out the other family of podcasts, the BDO Show and the Art of SBA Lending, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Thanks so much, everyone. Enjoy your day, and we will see you next week.